Hey, welcome back,
Cheers.
survivors, to Surviving the Badge Bar. Tonight we're going to have an interesting topic. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about old school police work versus new school police work and the pitfalls of each and so on and so forth. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to hear some war stories and some scary stories and whatever else. So stick around. We will be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's get it rolling, Camille.
LT, who do you know that still carries a flapjack or a flat? What is it? A
slapjack?
Slapjack. Yeah.
Nobody that I'm aware of. I think my partner Jim McDonald was the last one.
I was thinking Jim McDonald.
Yep. He was the last one.
So talk about old school.
Is there any agency that still allows that?
I don't think they were allowed since like the 70s or 80s.
LT, what is a slapjack?
Slapjack is a piece of leather, basically, and inside of it, at the bottom of it, it has a piece of lead at the bottom, and it is a pretty stiff piece of leather, and it's about yay long, and it's got a little strap on the back. You put your hand through it, and boy, you could wear somebody's ass out with it. I'll tell you that.
In one shot.
When I was on FTO, I saw that, and I'm like, they did not mention that in the academy at all. We didn't have a class on the slapjack.
Yeah, Jimmy was famous for carrying a slapjack, but I'll tell you what, it was heavy duty enough. You could bust a damn window, the old style windows and stuff with it. I mean, it was useful, and you could tune somebody's kneecap up with it. Yeah.
They're the windows.
I've done a side window with an asp.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to hit them down in the corners somewhere.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the asp bounce off a window 4 or 5 times.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was easy. Guys would strike it open with the asp open, and they would strike it, and it wasn't any good. The best luck I had was to keep it closed because it had a round ball in the end. Keep it closed and take it and just punch it like that into the corner of the window, and almost every time it would bust.
One agency was breaking a window, and they had a little spring-loaded thing that broke the corner of the.
Well, now all you have to do is you don't have to pull them or nothing. You just push them right on there, and the little point goes inside and it reaches a point, and it just shoots out, pow, and it pops them.
Yeah,
like bam, center punch. Yeah, okay. Bam, it'll take them out.
All right, so we're talking about old school.
Yeah,
obviously LT, old school. John and I, new school.
Oh, bullshit.
I'm probably transitional school.
Is there a middle school?
Transitional school. Well, we're okay with that.
John
we're okay
cannot be old school at all. He can't even have a foot in old school because he never carried a revolver.
Truth.
Right?
Truth.
Only people who carried a revolver can claim old school.
I did qualify in the academy. I had to qualify on both revolver and semi-automatic.
All right, so let's break that down a little further. Did you have to qualify from the 50-yard line?
Yes.
Oh.
Where'd you go?
Daytona.
Oh, okay. They're different.
I know. Well, I remember at
Seminole you didn't have to.
Seminole we did.
Not from the 50.
Yeah.
Well,
the revolver from the 50.
Did. You're right. Yeah, we did from the revolver. You're right.
We had to do prone.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah, it was prone. Yeah. But at least you got to lay down.
Yeah, right.
Have a little support. You weren't just standing there like this.
50 yards with a revolver.
Remember the Weaver?
Yes. Then the modified Weaver and all that. No.
Oh my God.
If I would say that revolver is a pretty good signify of old school.
Yeah. And you know what?
What about car? What do you think? Old school car.
Old school car would be one of the old Dodges, not the Diplomat,
no?
but before that, the Plymouth St. Regis, the Coronets.
You want to do a quiz on police cars?
We already did, and I won.
John, you ready? You've been practicing?
Oh, yeah, I've been researching.
Hey, let me tell you something. My dad brought home, I think it was like a 1973 or 74 Chevy Nova 4-door. And it had a 350 in it, 4-barrel and all. And he goes, man, this thing's fast. He goes, the only problem is you can't take off with it and put your foot in the gas, or it just spins and spins and spins.
Oh, damn.
Because they were real light in the ass
right?
and them old Novas would spin like crazy. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of the old Impalas. I mean, you go way back, the old Fords and stuff,
right?
Fairlanes and
Model T.
But talk about old school. So when I went through the academy, it was 1984, and
I went through in 88.
And you?
97.
Yeah, he's new school. He's new
97,
school.
98.
He's transition school.
Yeah, he's transition. So when I went through, it was wheel guns, it was, Dodge Diplomats, it was Chevy Impalas,
Yeast cars.
for police, huh?
The yeast roll.
Cars, yeast roll.
No, that came
well,
later.
that came later. That came in 94, 93, 94. But yeah. But it was funny because when you go into the agency, you would check out a portable radio, and then you would check out another portable radio, and you would put one in the charger in the car and one in your belt, and you had no shoulder mic at all and no earpiece, none of that shit. So everything that was coming out of the speaker, everybody on scene heard.
Right.
And
if you didn't want to take it out, you'd push the button and, all right, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here, and it sounded like a speakerphone, the old speakerphone. But, and I watched the Sergeant, old Dick Melton.
Yep.
And he would cup his hand, and I'm like, what are you doing, Sarge? And he goes, so I can hear this damn thing, so I got to pull it out of my waist. And I'm like, damn, that's a good idea. And then we finally got shoulder mics, but, you would take them out midway through the shift, and you would switch them. So one was charging, and you had a fresh, charged portable on your belt.
How long was the string on those things?
The string. But here's what's funny is the agency that I retired from, I was a dispatcher there. And in the early years, my dad worked there. He worked for my dad. But I'm talking like 81, 82. They didn't have repeaters on their radios.
Right.
So everything that was said on their portable, or especially on their portable, the only people that could hear that were the dispatchers in the comm center. The other officers had no idea that they were talking on the radio because they could not hear them. So if they were yelling for help, for instance, the dispatcher would get that information, then would have to try and relay that information to the officers that needed to go back him up. They could not hear that. We didn't have computers. We didn't have none of that shit. No GPS on the cell phones. I had a pad and a piece of paper sitting on my freaking dash. And sometimes it was suction cupped to the window, and the dispatcher would give you an address, and you'd have to write that shit down.
Or how old school?
Which
how
really
old
sucks
school?
if you're left-handed.
Right, yeah.
I've got to tell you
Yeah,
something.
you have to stick it to your side window.
How old school is this? All right, I'll take the information, and you're writing in your palm.
Oh, yeah.
When I
Police officer's notebook, the best one ever.
When I first started, I literally had notes going like up to here.
Yeah. Hey,
Just write down,
Unit.
numericals, addresses, this and
Yeah,
that.
Unit 5, copy of burglary. Okay, go with the address.
No, always. Then you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, you try to rub the old ones off so you have room to write the new ones.
Turn
It
the
was
page.
crazy, man. It was crazy.
And I used to yell at
and
my
then
kids for writing on themselves. And I'd come home with ink all over. It's like, Daddy!
and then handwritten reports. I mean, I wrote all of my reports for the first 10 years of my career. Everything was handwritten. When I worked for an agency north of here, we were able to dictate into a small little recorder on the small little micro cassettes. And we have the form sitting in front of us, and we would say, okay, number 1, date and time. Number 2, incident location. And we'd have to say all that, and then we would turn the cassette tape, put the report number on a little piece of sticky paper, turn it in, and records department would have to sit in there and transcribe our entire reports for us. But when I went to the agency I retired from, we didn't have that. You hand wrote every single report. So I'd bring in as y'all remember, the big report folder, the big metal folder, open it up. You got 28,000 reports in there. You go out there and say, okay, ma'am. And if you effed up, there were 3 copies. If you effed up, you had to start all over. There wasn't no whiteout.
No, you can't use whiteout. And if you made a small mistake by like a letter, you could do a little slash through it, initial.
Right.
I have my students handwrite their
not
reports.
in training, though.
Oh, hell no, not in training.
Not training, no.
That shit had to be perfect.
But I have my students handwrite their reports.
Yeah.
Because
and they hate
it. They hate it.
And they hate
But you
it.
know what? We visited an agency, and they were complaining to the lieutenant who was given the tour. They're like, yeah, Mr. Long makes us handwrite. And he's like, good. You sure to learn how to handwrite a report first before you use a
Absolutely.
computer.
And that brings me back, kind of old school, new school.
And we didn't have no spell check on our phone.
Did not.
The one time the computer program we had, the software was down. And I'm still out patrolling and all that stuff. But when the software is down,
Handwriting reports.
you got to handwrite reports. And I see this one deputy not hiding, but, just parked behind a shopping center. So I stopped by, we talked to him and stuff like that. And, hey, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. I can't do anything. I don't have a computer. I'm like,
What?
you can still do police
What
work.
did they do before computers?
You don't need a computer to do police work.
Yes, we invented police work in the 90s.
And then another time I was at the jail, and the chief judge had issued an order that all arrest reports had to be done on our computer software. Software was down. And
That's on. He can't mandate that.
Well, I said, I'll handwrite an arrest report.
Yeah.
They're like, you can't do that. They won't accept it at jail.
They will.
Yeah, they told me one time that, and one of my officers called me, and I said, you tell them that the statute says they will accept a report from the arresting officer and the prisoner per statute.
Right.
And the lieutenant that was on duty went,
Yeah.
I was that officer.
oh, were you?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
I'm
somebody called me, I know.
I'm like, hey,
Just
here's
because.
what I'm going to do. Statute says I have to provide you with probable cause affidavit.
Right.
Here
Here
it
it
is.
is.
Accept my affidavit and my prisoner.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So another old.
Troopers used to run in that all the time. You have to have it on our form. Trooper said, no, sir. Florida state statute says I will submit to you a written arrest affidavit with probable cause and my prisoner.
Yeah.
And you will take him. And boy, they used to get pissed, boy.
Now, when I was with the state, I did use the counties whenever I was down in Miami.
Of course.
I'd use that county
Of
as arrest
course.
reports.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. It's right
But,
there.
It's right
but
there.
we're talking about technology. It failed.
Right.
And you're like, well, you can't do your
Still
job.
got to take care of business. Yeah.
So moving on from reports, I remember when we got, the newer cars and they had some of the newer gear and the new light bars and everybody wanted to put, the biggest, baddest light bars on there and the most lights and everything. That was kind of funny. But then I remember when we transitioned from, and we covered this on the last show a little bit, so I won't go into it in detail, from the wheel gun or the revolver to the semi-automatics, that was a big transition. Then we went to computer-aided dispatch and reports. Oh, my gosh.
Speaking of that, you remember when we carried wheel guns, we carried 357 Magnums, and we were outside, and it was a multi-agency, I don't know if you were there, it was a multi-agency night fire. And there was like 4 or 5 different agencies, and we were there, and everybody had semi-autos except for us. Right? And it's like,
Reload.
boom, this big old flame coming out. And they're like, what the fuck? From the revolver.
Yeah. Play back the Dirty Harry movies and that sound that was
Right?
us. Yeah. And their hair's parting on the side. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, so much for your night vision when the flame comes out at the end of that son of a bitch.
So what about pepper spray versus tasers? When did tasers come in?
Early
Probably.
2000s, probably.
Yeah. So
somewhere in there.
Because I left
2000,
I left in 2001
Yeah.
to go to the state, and we
Yeah.
didn't have tasers yet.
Well,
I think we
See,
got them
and-
05, 06, somewhere in that
And it's-
general area.
it's still all about
But we
muscle
were
memory
behind.
when you're doing that job.
Right.
It's all about muscle memory and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I almost always forgot I had a taser
Okay.
because for the first 5 to 7 years of my job,
Yep.
never had a taser. So I always went hands-on.
Right.
But one of the best things was, when I have 3 daughters, my oldest daughter, one of her first boyfriends, have you ever tased anyone?
Speaking
I
of
get the hint.
Speaking of that, I know the 3 of us have never taken anybody to task physically, but old school cops used to whoop some ass.
Well, I did have people I arrested ask me, can you just take me behind the,
He's never. Okay.
can you
No,
take
I've
over?
never.
What's the statute of limitations?
I've never.
But they asked me to take him behind the business and beat the shit out of him
And
and,
then-
not take him to jail.
Right.
But with cameras and all that stuff,
Oh, you
we
can't
can't
do-
do any of that.
Yeah, and we were talking about
Not saying we should. I'm just saying that, there is no alternative other than what our responsibility is.
right. Now-
Our
And LT, we were talking about how some of the technology now is actually hindering law enforcement's
Well, I
actions.
still say that Officer Rayner with Daytona Beach Police Department, part of the reason why he was in the situation he was in and was overtaken and his gun taken and him shot was because of the new mentality of the officers today or the administration today that, oh, we have to be kinder, gentler, easier, nicer, everything else. And when you give somebody an order, give it to them again, give it to them again, give it to them again. Bullshit. When I was in my heyday out there, I always had a rule. You told a sober person once a lawful order clear and distinctly, and they understood it. You told a drunk person twice because they're drunk.
Right.
After that, they go to the ground, they go in handcuffs, and they go to jail for resisting an officer.
I tell my students, you ask, you tell, you make.
And there you go. And I think that the problem with society today is they are used to this wishy-washy bullshit administration of the law, and everybody gets 5, 6, 7, 8 chances before the consequences are you're going to jail. And that is why society is the way it is today. Nobody thinks law enforcement is going to do a frickin' thing if they go out there and they tell them, F you, F you, F you, F you, F you. I don't care what you say, F you, and run around and jump around like a bunch of idiots. In the old days, if you did that, you'd have been told, sir, you need to leave. Sir, I told you to leave as I'm walking towards you, the old Gregory Stomp. And then as he's not leaving, he goes to the ground.
Yeah.
And he goes to jail.
Yep.
And see you later, have a good day, and bye-bye. But now it's, sir, you need to leave. Oh, well, I'm on camera, so I've got to stand here and take his bullshit. Sir, you need to leave. 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 And it's like, come on, man. What the hell are you doing? We just did a short on this.
Yep.
The guy was way too freaking nice to that motorcyclist that was obviously trying to get away, and all the signs were there. Put it in gear, backed it up, trying to steer around the officer. If that was any one of us three, I'd have walked up there, turned the key off, pulled the key out of the ignition, and if he resisted me getting the key out of the ignition,
He'd be off that mic.
him and the motorcycle would have been on the ground, and he'd have been in handcuffs.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been on the ground so much sooner.
And nobody would have got hurt or the chance of getting run over in traffic like what happened.
Yep.
It's just we have taken a side nowadays that is way too easy, way too lax, and everyone is scared of the justice system and being sued.
Yep.
And it pisses me off when I see these videos.
A couple of, either a month or two ago, a guy was burglarizing a bunch of cars in Hillsborough County, or Pinellas County, one of the two, and he was being chased and all that stuff. He ended up getting caught, and they're like, oh, he was laughing. He's like, oh, I'll be out in like 2 hours.
Right.
Like, you realize you're in Polk County, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's like, wait, no, I'm not in Polk County, am I? He's like, oh yeah, we're in
I
Polk
think
County.
he said, oh, shit. Yeah, because Grady don't play.
Yeah, there's so many cameras out there, and people, and so many people have never been told, never been put in their place. There was
Never been told no.
right, never been
That's Campbell sucker punching Lincoln Park officer Patrick Cutler.
told no. Yeah, and there was a video last year. This woman is right up in this officer's face, and she pushes him, and he knocks her ass out, and everybody's like, oh. Good.
What does that shirt I have say? Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between doing it too quickly and waiting too long.
There is a fine line, and you have to know that line. 35 years, knock on wood, I never got hurt. Well, I got hurt, but not seriously hurt in the line of duty because I took care of business.
Yeah, you got to take care of business. You can't let
my people take care of business.
You can't let people run you over. All right. So, old school, new school. Any last thoughts?
What are you? Do you believe in
yeah.
old school? Do you believe in new school? Do you believe we should go back to?
I'm
not
whooping ass.
I'm gonna guess our viewers, old school fans.
And I'm not talking about, no kind of Nazi crap, where you go out there and you just run up on people and pummel them. We're not talking about that in any way. We're talking about when you tell them once or twice, if they don't comply, they go to jail. That's the old school we're talking about. As to new school, where you just go over and over and over and over and over, and you sit there for
Please,
15
sir.
minutes.
And our society needs old school because
It's been proven.
Yeah.
It's been proven.
Yep.
Crime rate is up here, ladies and gentlemen.
Because cops are not allowed to do their job.
They are not. So old school, new school, we'd love to hear your comments. Please hit that like button. We really appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. That really helps us out a lot. And subscribe. Hit that notification bell.
Tell us what
we really
you
appreciate it.
Tell us what you think about the new equipment, the new video, the new audio.
Amazing.
Everything looks great. So, and at Surviving the Badge,
We still got your
6.
6.